Greetings and salutations. This is Ryan from Set the Pace Triathlon.com, and we're doing some quick live tips. Well, live for those watching on live, and you'll see it later recorded on Facebook and YouTube. But today we're going to talk about buying used race wheels. I've done it myself a couple times, and people have asked the questions. Athletes have asked questions. I've seen the questions on Facebook and YouTube and everywhere. So these are my tips on how I've been successful for the most part buying used wheels. I say the most part. I've never had any really big incidences with the wheels that I've bought, and no big problems. So these are kind of the tips that I'm looking for as I'm going out and buying used wheels, especially if you've gone through all the rigmarole and you're like, yeah, I need race wheels and I need to go find them, but man, they're expensive. So here's a good way to find them on the secondary market, that they're a little bit reduced in price. So first one, beware, you can always rent race wheels. I think it's racewheelrental.com or wheel rental.com. There's tons of them out there, and they partner with Ironman races specifically too. You can go and just rent them and show up and use them on your bike, because most of us are going to pay a little bit more for wheels like that. We're usually just using them for race day and typically do not go out. Now, I go out and I ride mine a little bit, just to make sure that everything's set up, the spokes are good, and all the wheel parts are good. And I'll ride them a little bit before race day, but typically I don't go out and do my normal rides on them, especially when I'm indoors. I'm not riding on them. So a lot of people save some cash. It could be $400 to rent a set of wheels, but they're nice wheels. They're kept in shape. Usually they're no more than 1 or 2 years old, and they check them thoroughly, so they should be ready to go. You can get them with disc, clinchers, tubulars, all this other stuff. And one thing I will say is make sure that you're set up. If you got a flat, you've got all the flat repair gear that you need for that specific wheel. Is it tubular? Is it clincher? Disc wheels? All that kind of fun stuff. Just make sure that you have the gear that you need to get those wheels off and change a flat and then get them back on, because bike techs are great, but they're not always around when you need them. So, second-hand wheels are a gamble. Somebody else has used them for a while. Hopefully they're being truthful and they say how many races, how many miles they put on them. Hopefully they've taken care of them, not just left them out, sitting underneath their deck outside. They may look good, but maybe they've been rained on. They kind of sat outside. I mean, you should be able to see if they, sat out in sunlight or something. They should kind of fade over time, but you're always kind of taking a gamble. It's like with cars, anything else. It's like it's been used, and you're just kind of taking people's word, and it's been taken care of, and it looks in good shape. Especially if you're going to buy online, sight unseen, and they're going to get shipped to you. If it's from a used marketplace or something like that, Facebook Marketplace, it's classifieds or something like that. Taking just a little bit of a gamble that you're getting a good quality used item. But the next point is, I've already mentioned that, is new wheels are expensive. If you've got the resources, great. Go out there and buy the best wheels out there money can buy and slap them on your bike and go to town. But for most of us, it's not an item that we can just go out and shell out thousands of dollars for. And usually on the used marketplace, you can find a good, probably 4 to 5 year old set for significantly, probably half of what a new set would cost. So just keep that in mind. So I've listed a few places that I've looked. I've used eBay, Facebook Classifieds, online classifieds like Slow Twitch, bike shops. Keep in mind, like, eBay's nice because if you got a problem, there's a kind of, you've got the platform to help you resolve the issues, put a little pressure on them if you got problems. I've bought them off Slow Twitch before. I've done research to make sure that person's legitimate and just to make sure there's no gripes about them or anything like that. So do your homework. Look up the person, look up the profile. Is there other questions about any other sales they've had? Have they sold something before? Are they, has their profile only been like a week old and they're selling, brand new 909 disc zip wheels or something like that? Kind of, make sure you do your due diligence and go back and make sure that you're researching who you're buying from. If they've been around for a minute or something like that, or if it's, you got to be careful out there because a lot of people go out and steal gear and then go hop on a website and try to sell it as soon as possible. So just be aware of that. The next point is number 5, conveniently try to stay within wheels 5 years or newer, because technology is changing fast. We got disc wheels, we got carbon clinchers, we got aluminum rim clinchers, we got tubular, we've got non-tubular. It's just, there's so many different brands out there, so many different models, so many. We're going from 9-speed, 10-speed, 11-speed, 12-speed. You just got to make sure that you've got a wheel that could potentially be compatible later on. I had to go switch a wheel out from a 10-speed to 11-speed cassette. So I had to do a little bit of research to make sure that I can get that, and then find some sort of adapter or new um, hub or something like that that would fit in there, so I can put an 11 speed cassette on there. So just make sure you're doing your homework a little bit and make sure that you've got something compatible and maybe stay compatible for a few years down the line, because you don't want to get something and you find out that, next year or 2 years later you buy a new bike and it's like, these wheels don't work with it anymore, especially if you're going from disc to caliper brakes. You got to be careful about that and kind of think about the future when you're looking at these wheels. If you're looking at a good quality brand, Head, you got Zip, you got Reynolds, or you got all these different brands. Probably for a set, used is going to be about $1,000 for a set, and that's staying with that 5 year window. Clinchers, tubulars are usually around the same price. Disc wheels sometimes might be a little bit more expensive, and sometimes you got to be aware maybe they don't sell the disc brake with it, and you have to go get your own. So just be aware of that. That you're probably looking about $1,000 even for used race wheels that are in pretty good condition. Any more past 5 years old, and you're probably looking at a situation where, unless they've been well kept, you're just going to run into problems with them. They could just be, over time things just wear out. So I'd be leery of that. Anything less than $1,000, just make sure that you're getting the right age on those wheels and they're not too old. The next point is, like I talked about, are you looking at clinchers or tubulars? Personally, I like clinchers because I'm able to change it. If you got a tubular, you got a flat, there's ways and you can make it work, but you're kind of hosed if you're out there with a flat and you got to wait for a bike tech, and hopefully they've got a spare wheel they can throw on your bike. So personally, I'm a clincher fan. Just just make sure you know how to change flat. I've done tons of videos on that, so you can always check on that. But I like to make sure that I have clincher wheels just because I like to be able to change them. Next is, and I talked about this too, is your bike a 12, 11, 10, or 9 speed cassette. So that's going to be important, especially maybe if you're going one bike, you're going to upgrade your bike. Is it going to go from a 10 speed to a 12 speed, 11 speed to a 12 speed? Is that hub compatible with your cassettes? Tons of different questions out there. Is it Campy? Is it Shimano? Um, there's tons of things you need to make sure that you're aware of before you go out and buy a used wheel, especially because if somebody else has done some modifications to it, it may not fit anymore. It's like, oh yeah, a Zip 808 from 2017 will fit this, that, and the other. But if they switched out the hub to something else, they use different cassettes, it may not fit the bike you're looking for, the bike you need. So next point is rim brakes or disc brakes, because it does make a difference. The width of the hub and the skewer, if it's going to be disc brakes, more than likely it's going to be a through axle type of situation. So make sure you're comfortable with that. That is a learning curve, rather than the clinch axle systems. So just make sure that you're aware you get rim brakes, you get disc brakes, because the wheel is going to be different too. Because if you got rim brakes, it's going to have a braking surface on the wheel. Is it going to be aluminum? Is it going to be carbon fiber? If it's carbon fiber, you got to get carbon fiber pads for the brake. Things that you need to be aware of when you're out there buying a bike, And again, if you got questions, put them in the comments. If I'm zipping through this stuff real quick, because I don't want to lose you. But if you got questions about this later, put them in the comments and I'll get back to you on that. But you got to keep that in mind as a rim brake, disc brakes, because it makes a difference for the axle. It makes a difference for the braking system and the brake pads, all that kind of fun stuff. So the next is a 700 centimeter or 650 centimeter wheel. So if you got a smaller bike, you might have a 650 on there. Nowadays, most bikes are pretty standard at the 700, but a few people like to go 650. They just like the smaller wheels. So just make sure that you're getting, if you've got a 650 setup, you're getting a 650 wheel. If you've got a 700 setup, you're getting a 700 wheel. So make sure you pay attention to what size that wheel is before you go out and buy it. Because if you do buy it used, more than likely you're not going to have a situation where you can return it or refund it or exchange it or anything like that. So just make sure you're aware of that. And this is a quick run through. Like I said, I like to do these tips. I run through them pretty quick, talk pretty fast through them. If you get any questions, put them in the comments. If you see it on Facebook, like, comment. If you see it on YouTube, give me a like, subscribe, comment. I get notifications for all the comments and everything and try to get back to you guys with any questions that you may have. So hopefully that helps you out. If you're looking at, especially the beginning of the season or end of the season, you're like, I want to get race wheels. I think it's worth it. Make sure you consider quite a few of these things, and you can pause the video and make notes of all these things that maybe you need to consider when you're out there buying used wheels. So hopefully that helps you out. Happy training out there, and we'll see you out at the finish line.